Hi, my name doesn't really matter. This story isn't about who I am. It's about someone I never even knew, but someone who, without realizing it, changed the course of my entire life. I never got their name. I never saw them again. But what they did for me, something so small, so random, gave me the strength to keep going. And I want to tell you about it. Because maybe, just maybe, this story will remind you that kindness still exists. And sometimes, a single moment is all it takes. Let me take you back. I was 27 years old. Living in a city I no longer loved. Working a job that drained me, both mentally and physically. And worst of all, I had just lost my dad. It wasn't sudden. We knew it was coming. He had been sick for a while. But that doesn't make it easier. When he passed, something inside me shut off. I started going through the motions: wake up, work, pretend to smile, go home, cry in silence, sleep, repeat. The days blurred together. Time had no color. Just shades of gray. I had no one, really. I wasn't close to my family. I'd grown distant from my friends. And I was terrible at asking for help. So I suffered in silence. One night, after a particularly rough day at work, I remember my boss had yelled at me for something completely out of my control. I missed the last bus home. It was raining. I didn't have an umbrella. And I had no money left in my account. Just great. So I walked. In soaked clothes, through dim streets, head down, heart hollow. And somewhere around 9th and Pine, I just stopped. I sat down on a cold metal bench. And I cried. Not a few tears. Not the quiet kind of crying you can hide. I mean ugly, gasping, full-body sobbing. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care who saw me. I didn't even care if I ever made it home. That was the moment. That exact moment. When the stranger appeared. I didn't see them at first. All I noticed was a small paper cup being held out in front of me. It had steam rising from it. Hot chocolate, the voice said. Soft. Gentle. Not pushy. Not pitying. Just, kind. I looked up. It was a man. Maybe mid-30s. Wearing a thick hoodie and a beanie. His face was calm, but there was warmth in his eyes. I thought you might need something warm, he said. I blinked at him, confused. I hadn't asked for anything. I didn't even know where he came from. But I took the cup. Slowly. And when I wrapped my fingers around it, I realized how cold I really was. Do you want to talk? He asked. I opened my mouth. But no words came out. Just a broken little laugh and a fresh wave of tears. He sat down on the far end of the bench. Not too close. Just enough to let me know I wasn't alone. We sat in silence for a while. He didn't push me to explain. He didn't tell me to cheer up. He just existed next to me. Calm. Steady. Present. After maybe 10 minutes, I wiped my face and said, thanks. He nodded, smiling gently. You're gonna be okay, he said. I almost scoffed. But the way he said it. It wasn't false hope. It was quiet confidence. You're gonna be okay. Not tomorrow. Not next week. But someday. And that matters. And then, he stood up. Tossed me a small packet of tissues. And walked away. No dramatic goodbye. No lecture. No name. Just, gone. I never saw him again. I walked home that night, still soaked, still heavy. But something in me had shifted. I thought about what he said. You're gonna be okay. Not tomorrow. Not next week. But someday. It echoed in my mind like a mantra. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I made my bed. It sounds small, I know. But that was the first step. The next day, I cleaned out my fridge. A few days later, I called my cousin, someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year. Within a week, I scheduled a therapy session. And within a month, I started walking to work every morning, just to feel the sun on my face. Bit by bit, I began to come back to life. All because someone saw me in the middle of my darkest night and chose kindness over indifference. It's been 3 years since that night. I've changed jobs, moved to a new place, built better relationships, found passion in things I'd forgotten I loved, writing, painting, volunteering. But most importantly, I've made it my mission to be that stranger for someone else. Whenever I see someone sitting alone, crying on a bench, or just looking lost, I remember that rainy night. And I do what I can. Sometimes, it's as simple as buying someone a coffee and leaving a note that says, "You matter." Sometimes it's paying for the person behind me in line. Sometimes it's just smiling at someone who clearly needs to be seen. Because you never know. You truly never know how much a small gesture can mean to someone. Sometimes, it can save a life. I know it saved mine. Looking back now, I think the most beautiful part of that moment was how simple it was. He didn't rescue me. He didn't fix everything. He didn't even stay long. But he saw me. He acknowledged my pain. And he treated me with dignity in a moment when I felt worthless. That's all it takes. Human connection isn't about grand gestures or perfect words. It's about presence. It's about choosing empathy over apathy. You don't have to be someone's hero. Just be human. Be kind. Be real. That stranger reminded me that even in the darkest corners of the world, there's still light. And now, I try to be that light for others. I never learned his name. But I carry his kindness with me every single day. So if you're watching this and you're going through something, if you feel invisible, if life feels too heavy, please remember. You are not alone. You are not broken. And yes, even if it doesn't feel like it right now, you're going to be okay. And if you're someone who has the chance to be kind to a stranger, do it. Because you never know whose life you might change. Just like a stranger once changed mine. Thank you for listening.